We're back to the Neil Haley Show. My guest again today is Tracy Poizner, and she is the CEO of Undeletable Dad. How are you, Tracy? I've been getting so much feedback from YouTube and just conversations and different things about the value you bring to the table for dads. I mean, if you would go on these Facebook websites for dads, you would absolutely see the ones that are talking about, the divorce, the separation, and the kids and how hurt they are because they don't have a relationship with their children anymore, and in so many ways. So our topic today is mindset for dads. Kind of define what you mean, because we all know about growth mindset and sales and all these different things, but it talks about mindset for dads because dads could be feeling a lot of pain that they don't understand when they thought that they a lot of times. I think the percentage is women divorce men 70% of the time, men 30. I forget what the number is.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that.
It's a really, really big number. I'm not verifying that, but I've heard that. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you just said something interesting. So I'm going to riff off of that about all the divorced dad websites where the pain is so real and it's so at the surface. And the mindset that I want to talk about is um, how you define yourself and where you stand in terms of moving forward. Because when it's about your pain, when it's about your rights and about how you're being victimized by this situation, that is a weak position in terms of moving forward. And if you can just flip the mindset, just flip the scenario to where you are the sovereign steward of your child's well-being and development, and you don't need anybody to give you permission to discharge your responsibilities to your child. Okay. So the court system is, extremely adversarial. You don't need me to tell you that, right? And dads, as a rule, are getting the short end of the stick in court. And that is still the truth. It's not to say that it doesn't happen the other way around sometimes, but in general, the dads are getting left out of the equation, or they're being treated as the financial provider without much value in terms of what they bring to the table as the people who are going to be raising these kids. And so what I think is that the court exists to kind of force people to meet their obligations, right? But there is no court in the world that can tell you to be less responsible for your children, to feel less responsible, to have less duty towards them. So when you stand in that place, nobody can take anything away from you. And you can continue to discharge that responsibility no matter what kind of environment you're in, of alienation, of contact, of access to your kids. You can, I teach dads how to do this, right? You can continue to discharge your responsibility to your children. And that is a powerful place to stand. That's where you want to be as a dad.
Really? Okay, so I'm going to jump into that as a dad mindset wise. Is it basically up to each dad to figure out how much responsibility they really want after what the court system says and for their children?
I think it depends. What I'm talking about here is how you can shift your mindset to be moving from a place of more power when you are trying to increase the access that you have to your kids, increase the influence that you have in their lives. Okay. So, like, if you happen to be somebody who has unlimited access and you're writing your own script for how this is going to go, then, like, of course, it's on each guy to define the kind of relationship, the kind of fatherhood that he wants to have with his kids. But I think for most guys, for most dads, they want to they want to be in a position of having some influence. I mean, the father's role is to guide his children into adulthood, to turn them into well-adjusted, self-reliant human beings. That's the dad's job.
Yeah.
And you can massage however you want that to look, but at the same time, you can stand up for that and not accept that because your right to being a parent is being trampled on or abrogated in some way, that you're like shit out of luck. Sorry for swearing,
Yeah.
but like that's not the case, right? Like as long as you're standing behind a responsibility, then you're in a position of strength.
No, definitely. I think that you're really defining this, that the dad should not give up almost in this kind of moment you're bringing,
Absolutely.
because a lot of times I'm not gonna, I could share my dirty laundry, but there were certain things I was not allowed to do during my separation that really hurt and pain, was a very painful thing for me.
Right.
And it was based on court decisions and back and forth. And I
Right.
didn't want to give up, but maybe I didn't, in a lot of ways, understand what an expert like you could bring to the table. So so when you talk about mindset, how do you not give up as a dad during that process? If there's a light at the end of the tunnel, is that what you're looking at? What kind of things, and to continue to fight and not give up?
Yeah, of course it involves taking a long view, right? A lot of guys are really good about this when it comes to business. They are able to, take a long view of their of business growth, for instance, and they keep pointing themselves towards their goal. Whereas as a dad, you're still like you're a wounded human being because you're getting kicked in the gut every however often, where you're not being allowed access to your kids, or they're not coming to their pickup, or they're saying that they don't want to be with you or whatever, right? Like the present moment hurt is really real. And I think that the way to get into that more elevated mindset is to take the long view and to be continually looking for more doorways that you can get in, and not be stuck butting your head against the same door that won't open, because there are so many options, there are so many ways to play this game. But really the analogy came to me this morning that it's like playing Monopoly, and everybody chooses one of those, like a token, right, to move around the board. And you can choose the victim token, which is pretty easy to do, because it's easy to believe that, like, your situation is being caused by everyone around you. It's not so easy to play with the sovereign token, to be the king, the leader, right? And to say, whatever my circumstances as I go around the board, I am in charge of how this game is getting played.
And I think the mistake is that that's not the case. Here's the reason why. Because the courts, anyone that's around you, your inner circle as the father, where you might have a girlfriend, you might have a significant somebody else, you might have family members involved, where you're not able to be the boss in this, not to be the king, saying this is how things are going to go. You need to be able to negotiate on your own. You don't always need to use your attorneys. You need to figure out strategies that might be out of the box, thinking that maybe an attorney wouldn't figure out, or somebody else. Go ahead.
That's where it comes to. It's the out of the box thinking. In particular, attorneys are not great at out of the box thinking. They know how to work inside their box. That's their territory. You're paying them to be experts of working inside the box. They are not experts at thinking outside the box and finding those other doorways. So where you're feeling like you're not the king, you're not the boss, it's because you are attached or committed to doing things a certain way, to things looking or feeling a certain way. And it prevents you from being able to see all the options in front of you.
100%. It's so I guess what you're saying in mindset is, if you're, let's say, whatever job you have a role that you're the boss. It doesn't matter what you're doing, because you're deciding what to do. If you take over where you think you're not in control at all, like, that every circumstance that's happening in this divorce is out of my control, and play that victim, you will lose 9 times out of 10, it sounds like.
That's it. That's it. You have to be able to get back on your horse and stand in your boots as the sovereign. We talked last week about masculinity and the role of masculinity in fatherhood, right? I'm not talking about like being a bully or using force, because that's not what it's about. But it's being clever. It's working outside the box. It's finding other doorways, other pathways. The door is closed, you go around the back door, you go in a window, you make a tunnel, you climb through a pipe, you climb down the chimney, right? There are so many ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to get stuck trying to assert yourself in the way that you think it's going to go. You have to be very flexible and just willing to say, I will not stop trying. This is not about my feelings. This is about my responsibility to my children. They are actually the victims in this situation, not me. I have challenges. And my job is to overcome my challenges to help my children who are the victims of this situation.
All right. Best place people can go is where?
Undeletabledad.com.
All right. Appreciate it. Love having these episodes every week and putting it out in my radio syndication. You are a resource. We appreciate it, Tracy. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much.
You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.